And we're back in black, playing more Pathfinder, and today we're finally gonna talk about that master buffer that I've been mentioning for so long. So the master buffer is of course a cleric, or it could be an inquisitor, and it's someone who has access to the community domain, because it's through the community domain that you at level 8 get access to guarded hearth. And guarded hearth is, in my opinion, the strongest attack buff that you can get in the game, and it's because it gives you the possibly the biggest plus on your attack rolls. And this means that all your weapon attacks, if you attack with a melee weapon, if you attack with a ranged weapon, if you attack with a ranged touch attacks or a melee touch attack, all those things will get easier to hit. Because in this game, if you play on the highest difficulty, which is unfair, it will be almost impossible to hit something, especially in the early game. As the game progresses and you get to the late game and you get some nice buffs and stuff like that, and it gets a little bit easier. And if you run the guarded hearth, then you will actually be able to, in 99%, not maybe 99, but like 95% of the time, you will be able to hit things, which is very, very good. very, very good. So the guarded hearth, you drop down like a ward, you designate a spot, and then it will create a area around that spot, quite a huge area actually, and that inside that area everything gives a plus equal to your wisdom modifier, which can buff up a lot. In the late game you're gonna have something like a plus 10 modifier, and everyone in that hearth, that guarded hearth, will get plus 10 to their saving throws, and will also get plus 10 to their attack rolls, which is insane that both gain to the attack rolls and to the saving throws. If you have like a paladin under a guarded hearth, it's essentially, I mean, impossible to kill with spells, because it's gonna like pass every save ever. So that's quite amazing. And also having the plus 10 to attack rolls is insanely good, because many of the hardest encounters in the game, these bosses and stuff like that, have such insane armor rating that you can't get through with normal attacks. You usually have to use some type of special magic to get through. Maybe that fortitude save magic, or be that reflex save. It varies from boss to boss, and they try to mix it up a little bit, but it's often very difficult for many encounters to hit them with melee attacks. But some encounters you can, but many you can't reliably hit them. So that's why the guarded hearth is so good, and what I like about this class is that you also get access to the animal domain, and if you get the animal domain, you'll get the animal companion starting from level 4. It will be -3 levels, which is maybe an incentive to go for the Inquisitor, because the Inquisitor doesn't have this, but you can remedy this by picking up Boon Companion. So the other way of building this class is also, of course, you can go in Inquisitor, because the Inquisitor Huntsmaster starts off with an animal companion, and they can select one domain. They can't select two like the Cleric, but they can select one domain, and that's enough, because you can get access to the community domain that way. This approach would be better if the game wasn't bugged. So in this game right now, what I wanted to do with this class initially, I should say, is that I wanted to do Inquisitor, and then I wanted to do Alchemist, and then do Cognatogen, because a Cognatogen can increase one mental ability, so you can increase for your wisdom, for instance. And that way I could have gotten a plus 12 modifier on the guarded hearth, which would have been even better, would have been insane. I mean, it's already insane with like plus 10, but plus 12 is just better. The problem is that the Alchemist Cognatogen in my version of the game is bugged. I don't get it to work any way I do it, even if it's a single class Alchemist. No matter how I distribute the stats, I've tried so many times now, and I can't get the Cognatogen to work. It seems like it's just bugged in my game. So I'm not gonna create that version of the Cleric, but keep in mind that if you maybe create this in the future, if you're watching this in the future, and if they patch the game, if they fix this, then probably the superior choice is to go Inquisitor, Sacred Huntsmaster into Alchemist, and pick up Cognatogen. But we're not gonna do this for this guide. We're gonna go with a pure Eclipse Theurge and maybe splash one level of Paladin at some point. Why are we gonna go one level of Paladin? Well, the thing is, Eclipse Theurge, the negative part about them is that they don't get to wear any heavy armor. They don't get proficiency with any heavy armor, but they can still wear it, because remember, we're a divine caster, so we have no penalties for wearing heavy armor. So it's quite nice to be able to pick up a Paladin and then get our charisma score on our saving throws, which is quite nice, and also get access to heavy armor through only one level. But we're not gonna do that initially. So the initial part of the game, you can play this two ways. Either you play with this character and you will have a hard time, because on level 1, level 2, level 3, you will be horrible. Absolutely atrociously horrible. The clerics don't get really good spells unless they have a good domain which provides those spells for them. and yeah, the animal domain and the community domain don't give you good spells. So that's the downside of choosing those domains. But on the flip side, when you get to level 8, you will be one of the strongest classes in the game, if not the strongest class in the game, at least as far as buffing goes. So that's what you trade, right? So in my take of the exercise, either you play him and you just accept that he will be very, very bad in the beginning, or what you do is you pick him up on level 4 when he gets the animal companion, or you pick this class up on level 8. You hire a mercenary at level 8. Because level 8 is when you get the most benefit out of this class. So this is like a mid-game to late-game buffer. I would not recommend this class if you're gonna play like, I don't know, a campaign level 1 to 3. It's like, yeah, this would probably be the worst class ever. But if you're playing for the mid and late game, then this is a very, very strong class. We're gonna go in the Eclipse Theurge, and I'm just gonna go through the level 1 creation, and then I'm just gonna mention how it's a very, very simple creation to create this class. So we're just gonna go through level 1, and then we're just gonna tell you how to level up the other levels, because it's very, very straightforward. So the most important thing, of course, about this character is to have wisdom. The wisdom modifier will be added to your guarded hearth. It will start off as a +5, which is decently good, but as time progresses and you put more points into wisdom, because as you level up, you will get more points that you can put into wisdom, and you'll also get wisdom from gear and stuff like that. At some point, you're gonna reach about 30 wisdom. You will have something like a +6 from a headband of alluring, well, I don't know, something wisdom, I don't know, Old's wisdom or something. you will find something like that, which gives you a +6 modifier to your wisdom. And if you don't find something like that, which you by the way should, you can also use enhancement spells to enhance your wisdom before you cast the guarded hearth. So other than that, it's quite nice to have a little bit of charisma on this build. Why is it nice to have a little bit of charisma on this build? Because clerics get channeling, and having that channeling is quite nice. I don't like using channeling during combat because I think it's quite ineffective. It doesn't heal that much. It's a little bit of waste of time to cast healing then, because most of the things when they die, they get one shot anyways if you play on unfair difficulty. So I don't quite like that, but I really like having a lot of healing that you can do when combat is over, because when you sleep, your party will automatically get healed from all your healing you have in your party. And you will have quite a lot of healing with this class. You will both have healing from your spells, which you can pick up, but you don't need to pick them up too much, honestly. And you will also get some from your domain, because you have a healing spell that you get from the community domain that you can use early. And you will also get some healing from, of course, your channeling. So we have a lot of channeling, or a lot of healing, I should say. And whenever you sleep, you will probably heal your party up to full automatically. So I think that's quite nice. Other attributes that I like is having a little bit of constitution. So we're gonna add a little bit there. Maybe do a little bit less int. Sure, something like this. It's nice not to go too low on strength, because we're probably gonna wear heavy armor, and strength kind of changes how much you can wear on your character before they get over encumbered. So that's quite nice. So for the skill points, it doesn't matter too much if it's your main character. I always recommend persuasion. If that's not your main character and you have high wisdom, I always recommend perception, because the best items in the game are locked behind perception checks. But I'm gonna presume that this is not your main character. Also, you'll get a little bit lower stats if this is not your main character. So I'm gonna presume that, and then perception is quite good. And then you can go with anything. Lore religion, lore nature. This, of course, we have a nice modifier too, because we have such a high wisdom score. And we're gonna increase that wisdom score even further. So we'll probably be able to pass those checks. But these checks are not that important. Like lore nature, lore religion. There's like a quest which requires you to have lore nature, and maybe there's some quest that requires you to have lore religion, but for the most part, perception is more important in this game, I would say. Then we get to abilities, and I'm just gonna briefly talk about abilities. So, as we level up this character, of course, we'll put every point into wisdom, and we'll just continue to put points into perception. And what you do with your abilities is kind of up to you. The only thing that you need to pick up at some point is Boon Companion. You don't need to do it at the first level, but you do that at a point. Also, selective channeling in my opinion, it's a little bit of a waste of a skill point if you're not gonna use healing in combat. If you're gonna use healing in combat, then it's very good, because else you will heal your opponents also, or unless you angle it perfectly and only hit your own characters or something like that. But I usually don't pick up selective channel on my cleric, because I never use healing in combat anyways. But if you plan on doing that, pick up selective channel. Otherwise, I think there's a lot of good things actually you can pick up. Either you go for the improved stats, like Iron Will, improved Iron Will, Great Fortitude, improved the Great Fortitude, or you can go for extra channeling. And this makes it so that if I would probably only go extra channel though if this is your only cleric in the party. If you have multiple clerics, which is something I would probably recommend if you do this build, because it's a little bit annoying to only have one guarded hearth, but it's much better to have 2 or maybe 3 guarded hearths in your party, because then you can take like 3 fights and then sleep, and 3 fights and sleep, and 3 fights and sleep, and so on. So I think that's a little bit nicer. And also this class is kind of complete in by itself. You don't need much else. The only class that you need on top of this class is a wizard or a sorcerer, someone who can get access to arcane spells, because you're still gonna need some good spells to buff up your animal companion. Most notably, you want access to haste, you want access to let's see, heroism. You get heroism from being a cleric, so you don't need that though. Displacement is a very important spell to have on them. You need polymorph, that's more for the late game though, so you can polymorph them into either a greater Smilodon or polymorph your animal companion into a dragon or something like that. And then animal growth is another very important thing to get access to. So here I'm gonna select extra channel. I'm just gonna assume that this will be your only character of this class, but if you have multiple characters of this class, then maybe extra channel is not the best thing to go for. So here I just wanted to show you how strong your animal companions actually get, because they get insanely strong when they stand in your guarded hearth. When they stand in your guarded hearth, they will have an attack rating of 43 if you buffed up with most things, by the way. So here we have polymorphed my Smilodon into a greater Smilodon. You don't see that, there's no visible thing when you polymorph into a greater Smilodon. It looks exactly the same, but it gets a little bit better stats. If you can see here on the strength stat that you get +8 from animal growth, +4 from bull strength, +4 from polymorph into greater Smilodon, and then they also get like passive abilities from just leveling up to get +20 strength. So they have an insane, they have even higher strength than the strength monster build that I created. So they're quite insanely strong, these Smilodons. Here we have 6 attacks. You can't really see it here, but we have 6 attacks on our highest base attack bonus, because we have both 5 attacks from being a Smilodon, and we also have 1 extra from having haste on ourselves. We have a very good AC, I would say, at 52. Most things will have trouble hitting us, which is quite good, and especially sorcerers we also have displacement on us, which gives them a 50% miss chance against us. I also have an insane I mean, we have insane saves here at 24, 33, 37, and on top of that we also have mind blank, which both the clerics and the wizards can cast. By the way, heroism, I thought that clerics can cast it, but it seems like only maybe if you have a domain you can cast this, but for most, or for some clerics, like this cleric for instance, will not be able to cast heroism, so you will need to have a wizard or a sorceress to cast this on you. What other spells are there? I cast on Shield of Faith, which adds a little bit to my AC, as you can see here. Shield of Faith, Mage Armor is another spell I put on there. Then you get a lot from natural armor and from the polymorph. From the tough skin, this is just from leveling up. +2 from natural, from animal growth, dodge and haste. Yes, so you will have an insane AC, insane saves, insane attacks, and this character will be, in most cases, just stronger than anything you create like a melee character yourself, and it doesn't matter if it dies, because it will just get resurrected whenever you sleep, so it's quite strong, I think. Lastly then, I just wanted to show off how this character looks with some gear on. I mean, the stats are not impressive, it's not like this you got deal insane damage or anything with this class, but I just want to show off how it looks. So the most important piece is of course going to be the headpiece for your character, the headgear, and here you're gonna look for something which has a high wisdom modifier. Here we have +6 to charisma, intelligence, and wisdom, but it's essentially only wisdom that matters. I mean, charisma matters a little bit, you get a little bit more channeling and stuff like that, but for the most part it's wisdom that you're looking for. Get to 30 wisdom by the late game, and you have a +10 modifier on the guarded hearth, and that's usually good enough. I mean, you won't be as survivable as many other classes, even if you get braces of armor +8, even if you have a natural armor, even if you have a heavy armor here, you're probably gonna get killed by most things that get into close combat with you anyways in the late game. So stay out of combat and just lob bone shakers and bone shatters and disintegrates and stuff like that from afar. That's gonna be your role in combat after you've done your buffs. But when your buffing is done, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what you do with the character. You can even hide it if a fight is very scary. Just run away with the cleric after you've casted your guard dog. So that is pretty much my guide to the master buffer. I think the next guide is going to be a prestige class guide. We'll see. I think I'll go through all the prestige classes one by one and talk a little bit about them. Thanks so much for watching this guide, and see you next time.